Here we go. Hi, guys. Welcome to Integrating Your Ego. Did you know that your ego is the source of the reasons why you are not where you want to be? So, the reason why we're talking about this ego integration thing is because it is a thorn in your side that is preventing you from having all of the things that you want. Okay. Got it. So let me tell you something, integration. Okay. We're going to just talk about that first because it's a great word, but I want you to understand the context of it. Okay. 3 stages. Stage number 1, information. I know it. How many times do I have a conversation with a client on the phone? Oh yeah, I know that. We know so much, but it doesn't mean that we're going to do anything with it. It's like all of the people of the world that know how to lose weight. They know what to eat. They know to work out. They can go on Google and they can Google any type of workout and you just do it consistently over the course of time. And over time, you will build muscle, right? But people don't do it. So the knowing is not enough. Stage 2, transformation. When we make the changes, we start to show up. We start to go to the gym every single day. We start to meal prep. We start to eat the things that we most desire to eat that are healthy, that are whole foods. And the stage 3 is integration. Integration is who we become in the process. It is the identity of us. When we have integrated something into our life, it's the identity. So you can see by looking at me that fitness, health, working out, eating relatively healthy, just had Thanksgiving, is integrated in me. You can physically see on my body the integration of who I am, my identity, okay? So the knowing is the first step. You have to first know what to do. Step 2 is you need to start making changes. You need to do to transform. And then step 3, after the course of time, it programs into your system into integration, okay? So ego integration, we need to get to right now. We're going to start with the knowing. I'm going to give you a ton of different things that you will do in the process to transform. And when you do them consistently, it compounds over the course of time and it becomes who you are. Okay. So let's talk about the ego for a second. So the ego is the piece of us. It's a very, very valuable piece. It's the piece of us that keeps us safe. So you have soul comes down from through the portal of a woman. I don't know how to explain that part. And if you didn't have your ego, right, you wouldn't focus on safety. Safety wouldn't be a thing. You wouldn't have any fears. So fears are helpful in guiding you into you not like jumping off a cliff and dying, right? It gives us some source of like intellectual stability. But the problem is that when ego was made for the humans that were getting chased by bears and tigers, we are seldomly in a state where we need to keep ourselves safe, actual safety, right? Like somebody chasing after us in an alley. Maybe in New York City, that's different, right? Maybe in downtown Minneapolis, it's a little bit different. You kind of have to have your head on a swivel. But overall, in our everyday life, safety doesn't need to be our initial driver. So what happens is the ego has become overstimulated and also like ancestrally programmed from our grandparents, or we think of like those that walk through the Great Depression. There is a ton of fear, right? And then that moved into the next generation, and it just kind of, you could just kind of see now where we're sitting, and you look out and you see people in their lives miserable, people in their cars miserable, people going to their jobs miserable, people living for the weekend or their vacations miserable. Why? Because they're living with their ego driving the car. They're living what they think they should do, what they think is going to keep them safe. They're afraid to take a risk. Why? Because what if they lose? Fears, insecurities. What if I let somebody down? What if I get disappointed? To avoid negative emotions, to avoid the illusion that we even have things, right? None of the things matter. If we lose something, we get something different. We lose something, we get something new. None of it is permanent. We are constantly in this state of temporary relationships, temporary housing, temporary stuff, temporary vehicles, temporary friendships, temporary. Nothing is permanent. Permanence is God. Permanence is soul. So the ego is giving us this distorted view where we're getting attached and we're gripping to things. We're holding them close. We're like, I don't want to lose this. So therefore, I am going to do things that are totally misaligned that I absolutely do not want to do. So I feel safe. So we have energy systems, centers in our body. I'm obsessed with energy. I didn't always know what energy was, and I came from a life full of fear. That is like my, let's call it like awakening to I'm enough. Like it's like, this is what happens is people are ready to move into the spiritual journey. Once they're like, I'm exhausted and I am done and I cannot do this anymore. Mercy. I'm ready. I am ready for something better, right? I cannot control this. I'm trying to control something I can't control. So then sometimes people go from like this controlling aspect into the other side of this journey, like the pendulum swings to the other side of like full surrender. I'm just going to do whatever God tells me to do. And this is the thing, okay? Regardless of what you believe, okay? God doesn't decide. There's nothing outside of you telling you what you're supposed to do and who you're supposed to be, okay? This thing here, heart, soul, not the emotion heart. So take the societal story about this soul aspect of you, this like eternal aspect of you, okay? This piece of you, this intuition, this feeling, this like area of love, right? This is what's here to tell you what you're here to accomplish. So when you're looking out in the world and you feel like you see something like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. You're meant to have it. If it feels good to you, you're meant to have it. I tell you what, I saw this couple and they were sitting on a park bench. They were so crazy in love. The way that they looked at each other, like you could feel the radiating energy of love around them. I was like, that is what I want, right? Or you see somebody in business that's achieving these epic things and you can just tell how joyful and exciting they are. It's like, oh, yes, I want that. We're going on these amazing vacations. We're traveling and experiencing new things. Or having a solid group of friends, right? That it's kind of like your ride or die tribe. I want that. If you want it, you are meant to create it in this lifetime. Can you hear me? If you have, like, even let's just go into like the misalignment, the envy, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they have that. Or the judgment, all those things, they're here to tell us this is what you're here to experience. You're allowed to have the life that you want. You can have anything you want because you can. There is nothing anywhere, including God, stopping you. It is not God's will. God's will for you is to have whatever you want. But here's the thing. Ego has an idea of what it wants. For me, it was a 4-year degree, a great corporate job, tall, dark, and handsome husband, house in the suburbs, 2.5 kids. Did it, was not happy. Why? God says I can have whatever I want. Ego painted this picture of what would keep me safe, okay? Over here, soul was like, there is another individual in your life that would actually be a soul connection. Will you let that in? I was too afraid. I didn't do it. Pass it up. Bad idea. There were opportunities for me to dive into different career paths that would have been totally incredible for my personality. And I chose the one with the higher income, safety, over here in ego. But one day I woke up, and I woke up so hard, empty, looking in the mirror, not a clue who I was, because I created myself based upon what society said was successful, the ego, the safety mechanism, the piece of me that thought, okay, if I do this, I will be safe, and then I can just lean back and coast the rest of my life. Did you know that coasting is one of the most toxic stages of life that anybody can be in? That causes depression, which causes anxiety, which causes dysfunction, disease in the body, because we are meant, energy is meant to be in motion constantly. We are meant to evolve and grow over the course of our life. We're never meant to stop. Okay, so there's two stages of life. The first is from rags to riches. This is when you are in a miserable spot and your ego has taken over your life, to good. Okay, misery, things not working, to good. And then there's good to extraordinary. And the problem is people kind of get from here to good or perceived good, and then they stop doing the thing that got them there. Yeah. The good to extraordinary is a really, really hard path. And it's a really hard path because we have to choose it. Over here, we're less apt to fall for the fear because we need to get out. We're on fire. We need to put the fire out. We need to breathe. So we get here. And then guess what happens? We coast. And the coast energy doesn't stop moving. So we coast and we get back. We're on fire. And all of a sudden there's this repetition in your life where you're like, why am I putting out fires all the time? It's because you hit the coast button every time you get to good. When you get to good, you get to look around and say, okay, everything's going well. Now we need to move to extraordinary. What is the version of me that I need to activate to move into extraordinary? Step one is deciding when you wake up in the morning, how can today be extraordinary? How can I allow today to be extraordinary? What do I need to set my intentions for today to ensure that? What does my morning routine need to be? Who do I need to be? Who do I need to show up as? And now you have to ask yourself, okay, is this ego's idea of extraordinary? Like when I look out in the world and I see people that look like they have an extraordinary life and I'm trying to live like that? Or is it, hey, Becca, what is a hell yes to you? What feels right to you? If you could create your life any way you want and feel the way you want to feel, and nobody got to see what you created, how would this look? How would this look? There are things in this life that you love, that you would love more than anything to do. I watched my dad, if he could just stay home, ride horses, probably even live in the West, fix cars, and money was never an issue, he would be the happiest man on this earth. But there's something inside of him, don't tell him I said this, there was something inside of him that says this. It says, I'm not worthy to have what I want. The ego. It's keeping him safe. Because what if he gets there and he's happy? Then what? Holy shit. Then he's actually happy. For once in his life, he's actually created the life that he wants. He's so afraid to be happy. You guys, ego is the fear of success. Ego is also the fear of failure. Ego also is the fear of being loved. Ego is also the fear of being rejected. Ego is fear. Oh gosh, this is so good. So you see lots of things out in the world and they talk about ego death. And I completely disagree. Because there are 4 voices that are going on in your realm, in your life. And one of them is the ego, and the ego is a very important part. It just needs to be integrated. It just needs to work with you instead of against you. So what do we do to bring the ego on board? Okay, step 1 is we personify it. This is really fun. This is going to be a little playful. This is going to activate your inner child, right? So can you be fun with me for a second? If you're like me and you're a Capricorn and you're kind of like very serious all the time, you may not like this. I did not love this at first. Now I love this. Okay, close your eyes. Close your eyes for real. Take a deep breath and breathe into your stomach. And I want you to think about that voice that is working on keeping you safe. And without overthinking it, I want you to come up with the first answer that comes to you. That is your truth. I want you to breathe into your hips, bringing your energy down a little bit further, your attention down a little bit further. Now bring your focus to the bottom of your feet. Let's get you in your body. That's where you're going to get the answers. Stay out of your head. If you're thinking, you are in the wrong energy. We want our intuition to guide us here, okay? Take a deep breath in and out. Keep your eyes closed. Don't look at me. Just listen to my voice. All right, so there is a voice that is trying to keep you safe. I want you to think, is it male or female? Okay, what nationality? What color skin? What do they look like? What's the color of their hair? How tall are they? What color eyes do they have? What kind of build? What are they wearing? What kind of clothes are they wearing? What is their personality like? And last question, what is their name? Let the first name that comes to you stay in your body. Feel into this voice. All right, blink your eyes open. Meet your ego. My ego is hairy. He's really buff. He's kind of short, kind of walks like this. He's bald. Oddly enough, I dated a guy that looked like him. That's a whole nother story. That's actually oddly wild. So he is very kind of abrupt and gruff. And he's like, thinks I'm crazy all the time. He would really love it if I quit making all of these huge jumps without putting the safety protocols in place before I make a move. That's what he would like for me to do. He has a lot to say. When you can connect and make your ego a person, now you have an energy within you that is very scared that you can connect to. It works incredibly well. So now when I'm walking through something and I'm feeling like, okay, there's a lot of self-doubt and there's a lot of fear, Harry, what is going on? And it's like this last week, make it stop. Make it stop. I was in Minnesota for 12 days and then got back Sunday night, landed at 4, got home at 6, packed the rest of my house, moved on Monday. And he was freaking out. Big move. How do I know if I'm going to like it? Will the movers do what they need to do? They did not do the best job, but it's fine. And he's okay. Today, he's okay. I had to let him be heard. I had to let the fears come up and percolate. I had to integrate it. I had to build this relationship with him because if I didn't, I would have never made the move. I would have never done it the way I would have done it. I would have had horrible anxiety. I would have felt a lot more grief. I mean, any transition, right? Grief is part of the process. That's the energy where we let go. But it could have been percolating. I could have had a really bad experience. Instead, I had an amazing experience because I took him into the boardroom onto the team. Okay. So ego is 1. 2 is your inner child. So we have like ego on one side, your inner child, your little child on the other side. Our inner child has a lot of past experiences that have been very painful. And so once those are healed, our inner child is actually very free and flowing. So sometimes it can be an inner child thing, but we're only focusing on ego today. But I want you to know the 4 voices. Okay. Then we have soul. That's like the truth. That's like the piece of us, like when you hear something, it's like feels good. Doesn't sound good. That's ego. Feels good. And then you have spirit up here, spirit, God, insert your word that works the best for you. But that's like this, like, feels like this fatherly protective energy of like, hey, I'm seeing you down here in the maze. I'm going to tell you which direction to go because my viewpoint comes from a higher wisdom, right? So sometimes soul is like crazy and fun and playful and like, yeah, let's go parasailing. And spirit's like, maybe not to keep you safe, but like, that's not the best choice for your soul's journey right now. Okay. So it's kind of like fatherly energy. So when we meet in the boardroom, or you can go to a coffee shop, or you can go on a boat with them, wherever you want to go, like wherever you want to meet with these. I don't know, boardroom sounds really fun to me. Like I like meetings that I create. Let me rephrase that, that I create. So I sit them down and I say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I let myself feel into, what does Harry have to say? What does my little girl have to say? What is soul feeling about this? And then what does higher self say? And now I've got this full picture, right? Soul's like, yes, you're on the right track. Spirit's like, go. Ego's like, run. Inner child's like, I'm scared. Now I am at a point in my journey, okay? I am at a point in my journey where the ego is no longer running the show. Because if ego was running the show, I wouldn't go. Do you see where you're being held back? Okay. So a long time ago, you learned over the course of time with society and with your family that to be loved and to be accepted, you had to be a certain way. You had to talk a certain way. You had to act a certain way. You had to dress a certain way. You had to show up in a certain way. And then you noticed those people that were being loved and accepted, they followed a certain path. For many of you, it was the path of success. To be loved and accepted, you needed to be successful. And so you get to a place where you are successful and you are wildly unfulfilled and you don't understand why. And it's because ego said, to keep you safe, I want you to be loved and accepted. So that's kind of how it started. It wasn't this malicious ego coming at you. It was desiring to be loved and accepted. That's it. So step one, you love and accept yourself. Step two, nobody is paying attention to you. They're paying attention to themselves. They're trying to get themselves loved and accepted. Well, here's the thing. If they don't know, but you know. Okay, so don't worry about them. Let's worry about you. It's time for you to fully love and accept yourself, to love who you are, to love where you're going, to love the life that you have, to love the choices, to love you, to accept you. Okay, so ego, okay? I'm just going to give you like a couple things to understand which pieces of your life are the ego. Fears, limiting beliefs, negative stories, doubt, low confidence, overwhelm, self-rejection, shame, stress, being critical, judgmental, mood swings, distrust. Those are all the things that keep us safe. Those are how you know when you are in any of those energies, that is your ego driving the car. And when you talk to Harry, or insert your name, hey, what's wrong? Well, you screwed up again, and you did this, and you did this, and you did this, and you could have done this right. That's the voice, right? And it's like, hey, I hear you, but I want you to know, like, we can lean back and we can allow ourselves to be supported. We can receive. We can trust that although the path that soul has us take doesn't always make sense logically, that miracles happen all the time. And if I can trust that I'm always wildly protected and supported, and think about this, we've never been dropped. We have feared things that have not happened. Worst case scenario is the worst use of our imagination. Best case scenario is truth. Do you want the truth or not? Our ego desires to feel powerful and confident, desires to have a life to feel powerful and confident, but creates a life that doesn't have any of those things. Wants, doesn't have. So you want to know what, when you start to follow in this path of soul, and you start to actually like love and accept yourself and feel that inner power that is like almost unbreakable. It doesn't matter what happens, or if I fail, or the other day I fell up the stairs. I don't necessarily know how that happens. Maybe not fully my body. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I am powerful and I am confident when I create a life of soul. And now when my ego, when Harry realizes like, oh, she feels powerful and confident when she follows this, my ego is more apt to support me in where I'm headed. Get it? Now they're working as a team. Ego sees. Once we kind of readjust and integrate these pieces of us and get them going on the right direction and working together, guess what? harmony internally starts to happen. You start to have a team that are all playing on the same team. Our ego wants the guarantee. So for those of you that are in business, and for those of you that are in sales and marketing, we sell to the ego. We sell to safety, and we provide soul. Every time. The soul does not buy, the ego does. So if we're trying to sell to soul, buy some peace. Ego's like, that doesn't sound right. Get the perfect sexy body in 21 days. Ego's like, sign me up. Right? Yeah, that's how our body buys. And so it's also understanding that although you're on a soul path, we purchase based upon ego. Interesting, isn't it? So if you're unfulfilled, ego is driving your success. Who is the version of you that the world told you that you needed to be? Right? You heard mine. What's the version of you that the world told you to be? And then you followed that path and you looked around just to avoid failure. And you realized that you actually failed. And it's a powerful concept. It's a powerful thing to look at. So I had this really cool experience where somebody very, very close to me looked me in the eye, sat me down on the couch, serious, and said, "Are you really who you say you are? Are you really who you say you are? This person that you are on the internet, are you really that person?" And I was like, yeah, of course I am. But I went home that day and I questioned it. And I said, am I? And I went onto my Instagram and I started scrolling and listening. Am I really this person? And I thought, this is what I saw. Is that the person that shows up online 99% of the time is the highest self. It's the highest version of me, okay? But I also have my lower self, right? So we have our higher self, which is like the wise version of us. And then we have the lower self of us, which has like the fears, the distrust, the pieces of us that are clinging to the safety and security. Ego, soul. And I noticed that when nobody is watching, my ego is way more active than I desired it to be. And I went into this relationship with my ego. So he was like the perfect person for the perfect lesson because he taught me. He also like pushed me out at the same time because of what he taught me. I up-leveled and I was like, ooh, this isn't a match. What am I doing here? Great teacher, not a good fit. Are you really who you say you are? Are you really who you say you are? Okay. So this brings me to fragmentation. Okay. This is a great process. Are you ready for this? I want you to take the time. I want you to hit pause and I want you to write down all of the things that you do not love in others, all the things that trigger you. I want you to make a full list. Okay. So hit pause now. Make that list and then come back. Do not continue because you don't need to know what the next step is until you do that. Okay. Okay. Now you're back. Yes. Don't keep going if you haven't hit pause. So this list that you made, what happened over the course of your lifetime is you learned that these things that you're triggered in others, or the way that these other people are pieces of you that you learned that if I was this, I would not be loved and accepted. So you took this piece of you and you rejected it and you threw it on the ether. You threw it out, gone. And in the throwing out of this piece of you, you fragmented yourself, which means that you were just like, oh, can't have that, can't be this, can't do this, can't have this, can't have this. But here's the problem, is your desire is to feel whole. Wholeness comes from the light pieces of you, the beautiful pieces of you, the positive pieces from you, and the negative. There is no such thing as just being this perfect vision of you, because then you're fragmented and you're constantly like trying to get your needs met outside of you because you're feeling like you're missing pieces of you. So energy is really smart. You are attracted to you, right? Universal law, you're attracted to you, the pieces of you that you've rejected. So a trigger is a piece of you that's coming up to be reclaimed. It's a piece of you that's coming up to be reclaimed. And when you reclaim it, it no longer triggers you. So when you look at this list, this is your assignment, is to take that piece of you back and love that piece of you. Okay? We are all judgmental. We are all critical. We are all unloving. Okay? It's part of being human. It is the dark and the light. We consist of all of it. Can you love all of those pieces of you? And when you start to bring it in and take that piece of you that's like, I love you, like, I'm sorry that I rejected you, and I make you a piece of me, I am no longer critical. Interesting, huh? We think if we're reclaiming it, we're bringing it back, then we're going to be that. That's not true. It's not true at all. We actually become more loving. Our heart becomes more open. So also, the pieces of you that you do not love about you is what others did not love and accept of you. So for the longest time, even in high school, I mean, till recently, like, did not like my thighs. So think of like a body part that you reject. And now you see, especially in the gym, like, thick thighs is the thing. And I always would see all these other women, right, that just had these tiny legs. And I was like, gosh, I just wish I could. So my mom rejected that piece of her body. One day I was a little girl. I was watching my mom in the mirror. I was seeing her disgust with her body. And so what I learned is that when she did not love and accept that piece of her, I made that mean that that piece of me was also not acceptable. I can't change it, right? I have curves. Now I love it. But back then I didn't, because somebody taught me that to be loved and accepted, that was not the thing to have. Isn't it interesting? So look at all the things that you don't love about yourself. And I want you to find who taught you that having that meant you would not be loved and accepted. Awareness here is key, okay? Now I'm giving you information, knowing, right? We're transforming, we're making changes, we're uncovering, we're digging things up. And we're starting to love ourselves more in the process. And over the course of time, as we continue to walk this path and speak loving and accepting words to ourselves, speak loving and accepting words to other people, we will heal, and we will become the version of us that is whole and complete. And then we no longer look outside of us for love and acceptance. And guess what? Everybody loves and accepts you. When you stop looking for it, it comes so insanely well. So insanely well, okay? Fragmentation. So that's what that was, fragmentation. Okay. So, oh my gosh, you guys have no idea how many notes I have. Okay. So we're going here. So ego puts us into misaligned masculine energy. Okay. I want to talk about masculine and feminine for a second, because I think that if you've had other trainings, if you've gone through the money training, you're going to see that there, but I want to take this in context of the ego. Okay. Our ego is the piece of us that puts us in misaligned masculine energy. Okay. It's the push, it's the do, it's the hustle, it's the grind. What do I need to do to make myself feel better? What do I need to do? Okay. And the feminine energy is, who do I need to be? It's a leaned back receiving energy. Here's the problem. What do I need to do to be loved and accepted? Receive the love and acceptance. So we are solving a feminine energy problem, a receiving problem, with a giving energy. So this is what I find. The majority of my clients are overgivers, and they are fueled. They feel love and acceptance by what they give, what they contribute, how they help. But it's coming from ego. It's not authentic, and it's exhausting them. Exhausting. Because it's misaligned masculine energy. So feminine energy, don't get that confused with men and women, okay? Masculine, feminine energy, they're just two types of frequencies. Feminine energy is leaning back, receiving, allowing, in flow, in trust, and in a state of love. So if you want to help people, okay, and you are looking for love and acceptance, you don't do it by helping, you do it by receiving. Because how many times have you helped somebody and then you didn't get what you wanted and then you were resentful? Do you see this like mess that ego can create by this perception of how this really works when none of it is true? So then we take it a step farther and we look at being selfish, right? Okay, so now I can't be giving and I can't be moving this energy and I need to lean back and receive. Like, what does this look like? And so here's the hierarchy of needs, okay? You, God, others, in that order. You first, then connect with God, spirit, your belief system, and then you give to others. If you are not overflowing, you have nothing to give. You're giving a low frequency and it's not actually helping anybody. Besides, it's giving you the illusion that you're getting love and acceptance. And it is an illusion because it doesn't actually work. And chances are you're getting a lot of disappointment in the process because nobody's showing up in the way that you're expecting them to because of what you've given. This is so good. I love talking about this stuff. Okay. So we have the ego prioritization of self. So I want to talk about this whole selfish energy because this actually came up this week with one of my VAPs. There's this ego prioritization of self, and there's this soul prioritization of self. Ego prioritization of self is narcissism, okay? Soul prioritization of self is empath. Let's talk about this, okay? A narcissist is not bad. A narcissist is a really good teacher. You maybe walk through an experience with a narcissist where you did not have the tools and it broke you, but it broke you because it broke the pieces of you that were generated via ego, that were coming from a misaligned ego that was giving to be loved and accepted. And the purpose of the narcissist is to break that, to get you to connect with soul. A narcissist is a gift, okay? Maybe a gift that went way too long. And if you need to go into that deeper, just shoot me a message and I can definitely guide you accordingly if that's something that you're feeling you want to dive into or figure out like, well, what are the tools? Tell me more. We're not going to get into that here. So the soul prioritization of self is the left hand over the heart. The left side is your receiving side, your feminine energy. The right side is your giving energy, which is your masculine energy, okay? So left hand over the heart, is this a hell yes or a hell no? God, what would you have me do? What do I need right now? What does my soul need? What does my body need? And what does my mind need, right? It's like giving yourself what it needs, filling your cup first so that you actually have something to give. And then it's meditation, prayer, quiet time, whatever you need to do to connect with God. Go for a walk in nature, something where you're getting that connection. You're feeling your crown chakra opening and you're letting the energy into the body. God's white light running through every cell of your body, okay? Then your frequency. So then now you think about giving, being in a room with you, your aura is so big and so vibrant that people just being in your energy. I had a guy at the gym today that was kind of hovering me. And you could just tell, because I kind of just tapped into his energy for a second. He was behind me and he like went on 3 machines around me. He was just obsessed with my energy. And you could just tell he was getting so much from it. I don't even think he realized, well, maybe he realized what he was doing, but it was very pure. It was very great energy. It was kind of fun to experience. I helped him without doing anything besides being the best version of me. Do you see how that's aligned? Me showing up and me moving into a state of, I don't go to the gym because I have to. I go because that is a hell yes to my heart. And sometimes I go for multiple hours and I go until I feel like, okay, I'm done. I've created a life that is a hell yes to my soul. I moved to Florida. I moved 7 states away from my kids. I fly back and forth every other week. I got rid of my house in Minnesota. We decided to do an adventure, which means that every time we get a brand new rental car, brand new hotel, brand new experience, sometimes we repeat experiences if we want more. It's been amazing. Who we've become in the process of this is way better than having the monotony of the life that society says that you should live. My kids do not function off of that. They are wild children like me. We're just like a bunch of wildflowers that we want to explore, we want to experience, we want to meet new people, we want to have new foods, we want to stay in new places, we want to have deep conversations, right? They're amazing. What we have created by watching their mom follow her dreams, my children are activated, right? So many people are like, oh my gosh, you know, so much like judgment will come out of people will like question, like, I can't believe that you would do that to your kids and not be able to be there. Oh, I'm there. They FaceTime me every single day. We have amazing conversations. Every time that they need to share something with me, they do. They get the space to be away from me so that when they're with me, they're present with me. They're not just like in my space going through the motions. I'm not just physically there. We are connected. We are spiritually connected in the same place. It is a powerful choice to follow this, even when it doesn't make sense, even when society, it's not a thing. I don't know anybody else that's done this, okay? So when ego is prioritizing the self, you're going to see pride, you're going to see control, and you're going to see greed. When your soul is prioritizing self, you're going to see joy, you're going to see abundance, and you're going to see love. Interesting, isn't it? So here's some things to journal. First question, okay? Like we talked about before, are you who you say you are? I want you to really dig deep into that. Who am I saying I am? Am I really that version in me? Or is this just a persona, a mask that I'm putting on? Get to the truth inside of yourself, okay? 2, where is my ego leading my life? In my relationship, in my career, in my finances, in my parenting, in my health? Where am I trying to stay safe? You know, let's talk about weight for a second. So we gain weight, people gain weight because they don't feel safe. And so the ego does things to gain safety. So one of them is emotional eating, right? That could also be an inner child, because as a child, food made us feel safe. So as an adult, we're reaching for things that make us safe. And so people can't lose weight because they're not feeling safe in their body. So there's this root chakra, which is the lowest energy center of the body. That is your sense of safety and stability. So there are binaural beats on YouTube. Binaural beats. I'm just writing it down for the root chakra that you can listen to that balance that energy in your body. So it is a frequency. It's a vibration that brings your body into resonance of feeling safe again. It is a great tool. I suggest using it. The music is great. You could do it when you're sleeping. You can just play it in your home. You can put headphones in when you're at work, when you're out walking. You can also play it in your car, whatever you want to do. It's also great for your family. If your family's feeling unstable, you've just experienced loss, you've just experienced grief. This is a great way to find the energetic stabilization that you need in the body. 3, where can I allow my soul to lead more? Here's where you find the opportunity, okay? Left hand over the heart. Is this a hell yes or hell no? Do this with the food you eat, with the clothes that you wear, with the determination of what you're going to do next, whether you want to go out to eat with this person, whether you want to meet with this person, whether you want this job, whether you want this contract, whether you want this client. Is this a hell yes or hell no? That's how you decide. You guys are amazing. I want to thank you for not just working with me, but taking this journey down a very unforeseen road that you probably didn't know existed before you met me. And I'm here to show the world that suffering is not required. That not just suffering is not required, but we also don't have to give anything up. You can have everything that you desire. You just can't do it in the way of the ego. Okay. So let's move into success for a second. I want to leave you with this process. So the success process is first this. What's the desire? Okay. What is the soul desire that I really want? I want to feel X. Okay. Step 2 is alignment. we need to get into alignment with this before we can do something about it. So you're like, okay, soul wants this, but I'm feeling a lot of resistance. It means you're not in alignment. Nothing takes time. It's not like, well, if the universe decides, if God wills, if it, once it aligns, you know, we let the timing, we don't know when the time is right, all bullshit. Okay. You align, which means, do you have repeated patterns that you're not seeing that are creating this? Do you have limiting thoughts that are working against this? Do you have fears that you haven't processed that are unconscious? Unconscious is the stuff we can't see. Conscious is the stuff we can see. Are you telling stories about why you can't have what you want? So you sit down with a notebook and a pen, and you put, here's my desire, and here's all the reasons why I think I can't have it. And you go through every single one and you cross off the lie and you write the truth. The truth feels good. Okay. And then the next day, you're going to have less, but you're also going to have some. You sit down, here's my desire. This is what I want. Here's all the reasons why I think I can't have it. And you shift them into truth. And you do it again, you do it again, you do it again, you do it again. And then boom, it happens. You have aligned. Your energy is now a match for the frequency of what you desire. Okay. That is how success happens. It is so much easier than we're making it. The problem is that we move into the ego and we just do, and push. And we look for evidence and then we don't give, we have doubt. And we say, well, I guess that wasn't for me. Lies from the devil. Instead, it's God, universe, angels, this is what I desire. Okay. Here's all the reasons why I think I can't have it yet. Shift the energy, shift the energy, shift the energy, shift the energy. Release, 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 speak truth, speak truth. We're reprogramming, that's transformation, right? So you have the information, the knowing, okay, this is how you do it. The transformation of taking the action every single day of looking at our limiting beliefs, our limiting thoughts, pushing those thought bubbles that come in. You guys, thoughts are not yours. Thoughts are just energies that are kind of just moving around you. And it's up to you if you want to grab one and make it truth, or if you want to push it out of your energetic field and say, no, that's a hell no. I can have whatever I want because I can. I am worthy of having this. Pushing it out, pushing it out, pushing it out, pushing it out. Until you have created this energetic bubble around you of belief. So here's the last piece of the puzzle. Just kidding. Is that you came here to live a life that is full, that is abundant, that is all in. And I was listening to my coach yesterday and she said something really cool that I want to share with you. She said, you want to ride the wave, but you want to ride the big waves, right? In the ocean, you think of the big waves of the ocean. So you get up on that surfboard and you nail it. It is elation. But to be able to hit that big wave, you also have to be over here when you hit the wave and you completely biff it and you go head first into the wave and it pummels you. You have to be able and desiring to hold both. If you want the highs of life, you have to be willing to go through the lows. They're both valuable. So think of it in terms of a surfer. Do they hit a good wave every single time? The answer is no. So sometimes you are not going to get to where you want to go. Guess what you do? You get back on the surfboard and you keep going. And you get used to getting pummeled by the waves because eventually you get to the point where like, you don't fear anything. You don't give a shit. If the wave wants to pummel you, bring it. I'm just going to get up and go again. We don't quit. The ego is what's preventing you from experiencing this. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's temporary. And the more that you surrender to discomfort or disappointment, like, oh my gosh, well, if I believe that and I really want it to happen, I'm going to have to sit in the energy of, this is what she said, maybe means yes. What if it doesn't work? Well, then it doesn't work and then I'm disappointed. But if I don't come with maybe means yes, and I don't approach life that maybe means yes, I'm going to show up differently than when maybe means no. Yes, that's true. If I go and maybe means yes, well, maybe means no, I'm already disappointed. So if maybe means yes, guess what? Disappointment, it's okay. So when we feel the disappointment, I want you to not try to get rid of it. I want you to feel, oh, I'm disappointed that didn't happen. You are safe to feel disappointment. You are safe to feel shame. You are safe to feel failure. You're safe to feel all of it because you want to know what? None of that is to be avoided. That avoidance factor is your ego that is not integrated. So I say, Harry, you're feeling a little disappointed. Yeah, it went the way I thought it would. I was like, well, you created that. Let's do better. So instead, at the beginning, I'm like, hey, Harry, this is the track we're going. Maybe means yes, I'm in conviction. I'm walking in this direction. This is going to work, hell or high water. I've got this. He's going to be more on board with me when I'm walking in conviction of the soul than when I'm in hope. True story. So the last piece of the puzzle, times 3. Why do sometimes we create things that work, and why sometimes do we create things that crash? If you create it out of ego, out of trying to feel safe, it's going to eventually crash because the energy is misaligned, because it's not a match for you. And I want you to notice that when things crash, I want you to look, where did ego create this? Where did I create this to feel safety? Is this really what my soul actually wanted? If I were to delete my life and like recreate it from soul, would it look completely different? If that's true, you are standing on a house of cards. And when you build a life based upon your soul's desires and spirit's guidance, you are building a kingdom that is untouchable. Thank you for being here. You are absolutely amazing. And I want you to know that you are worthy of having and being and doing all the things that you desire. Have a good day.